Hello again, everyone. Down in the woodworking shop this morning. Pretty cold in here because I haven't turned any heat on, but I want to do just a short video about my new miter saw. I was doing a project the other day and my old saw, it quit, so I bought me a new compound miter saw. So let me show you what I bought and we'll get into it. This is a WEN, W-E-N, model MM1214T, and it is a 12-inch dual bevel sliding compound saw. I have a little bench lathe that I do some wood lathe work with, and it's a WEN, and I've had it several years and it works good, been dependable. So let's get it opened up and we'll see what we got, and I'll go over some features with you. It says Team Lift on the box, and this saw does weigh around 60 pounds, so pretty much a handful, one person trying to lift it, but I think we can get it out of here. And here in the top we have some Allen wrenches. And that's probably a blade wrench, I would say. There's a clamp to hold your material down. Looks pretty much like my old saw on that. And we got an owner's manual, and we got a couple of brushes for the motor. So that's good. It can be replaced. And the first thing I notice is how much larger this saw is than my old saw. Because I know they're different size cut, but it has double bars there in the back where it slides. Just a lot heavier built saw. I'll quickly go over some of the features of this saw. In case you're looking for a saw, I mean, you can find all of this online, of course, but I just made some notes here on the features that it offers. You can cut a board 13 3/8 wide on the bed if you cut an angle. That's going to change it, lowers it down to a 9.5 inch board this way if you cut a 45-degree angle. Blade speed's 3,800 RPMs. Now, as far as crown molding, you can cut up to a 7.5 inch wide piece of crown molding. Like base molding, it will cut a 6 3/4 inch tall piece of base molding. So that's rather wide. Most base molding is 5 1/4, 5 1/2 is about the widest that I've seen. But anyway, if you want to cut something wider, you can. Comes with a 60 tooth blade, and it was already installed. You don't have to put that on. And looks like that's maybe loose. Yeah, it's loose. So that needs to be adjusted to there and then tightened down. I'll be mounting this saw where my other saw was, on a permanent table, but for right now, I plugged it up. And we're going to first see if it works. I'm sure it will, but let's try it and see. We've got a safety switch here, and if you're left-handed, it's over here. So push that. Here's a bench where I had the old miter saw, and I had it bolted down. That was plenty deep enough for it to slide, but it's not the case on this new saw. It slid in as far as it needs to go. Probably need about 25 or 6 inches to where the board lays against the fence for that to slide. And on the old saw, we only needed probably 18 inches. And we need about 8 more inches of travel on the back. And the old saw came pretty close to the wall when you slid it all the way in. So I know I need at least 8 inches here on the front of the bench. So I'm going to have to add that much to it for this new saw to work. And I'm going to go back and jigsaw this at an angle where there's no sharp edges to do that on both sides. Then I'm going to put this scrap 2x6 as a leg right in the center. And I put an extension on the bottom of this 2x6. That'll keep it from kicking in and out so bad. Give more surface to set on the floor. And that'll give you an idea how it's going to set on the floor. Alright, there's our completed extension. Good and stout. When we get the saw on there, that'll make it even stouter. That'll tighten this leg up. So time to put the saw over here and let's see what it looks like. Alright, seems like that'll work. We've got some space back there before it hits the wall, so that's fine. We'll put some bolts in this. One there, and one there, and 2 on the other side. And you do get a rear stand. That's what this is called. And it goes right there. That does give you more support on the back of the saw. So we'll put that in and get it tightened up before we bolt this down. And the dust bag just has a little squeeze ring. So we'll put it on. Right, that should catch some of the dust anyway. Ideally we need a dust collector hose hooked up to that, but that'll catch some of it. This does have presets for the angle cuts. See these notches here in the bottom. We've got a 45, of course, all the way to the left, then a 31.5, 22.5, 15, and 0. And the way you move the bed of the saw is pull up on this right here. And there's 15, 22, 31, and 45. And that locks into these slots. Same way the other direction. Go all the way to a 45-degree cut. And right here, this little arm that flips down, that's a 0 adjustment on the bed of the saw. That keeps the blade at a perfect 0 degrees up and down. And it is adjustable. You loosen that nut, and it's got a screwdriver slot. You can turn that in or out to move the head of the saw right or left for a perfect 0 degree up and down cut. Watch what happens to this lever right here when I pull the head of the saw down. It goes in. This is spring loaded, and it just slides in behind the head of the saw right there. So now our saw is fixed. You just want to do, and to put it back like it was, you just push down on the saw head, pull back on that, and you can actually turn it. Has an indent there. You can actually turn it to where this stays out, and then the saw will pivot every time. Table extensions, they just slide in and out. Tighten it down with this little screw. Same on this side, and the stops there. If you want to cut several pieces the same length, you can pull that stop up, set this table extension where you want it, And then you've got constant cuts to the same length, one after another. If you want to do a compound angle and you need to tilt the head of the saw one way or the other, you loosen this lever here on the front, just pull it up, and the saw will tilt up to 45 degrees to the left. And if you want to tilt it to the right, you do need to flip down the little zero stop right here, and then it will move 45 degrees both ways. Another nice feature the saw has, have a work light, LED light, that helps out. And we have a laser on the blade. So that's the new Win 12-inch compound miter saw. I've made several cuts already on it, cutting some trim for a entertainment center I built. And accurate cuts, don't see any problems with it at all so far. For the money, I think it's a pretty decent saw. I want to cover one more thing with you before I finish this video out. That was the price. I looked at several brands. Of course, you know, you look at the DeWalt and Bosch, and those brands there are quite a bit more expensive, and they run DeWalt's around $500. I looked at Rigid and Cobalt, which are the two big chain brands, and they ran around $369 to $379, in that range. This saw was $270, and that was shipped to me free. For the money, I think it's a good saw. Whether it'll hold up long term, we'll see, but I'm pretty happy with it for what I paid for it. I think it's a pretty good bargain. See you next time. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.